Well, hi there, and welcome. Today I'm going to tell you part one of a little story about the epic meltdown of a narcissist. Now, I need to give you a bit of context as to what led up to this, and for that we need to go back in time to a better time. Well, not really, but back when we fell in love. Now, we met almost 20 years ago, and it was right after I got out of high school, and it was actually a really hard time for me. I was actually grieving because my boyfriend had died the month before we met. I spent the summer rejecting him, but eventually I came around, and in the fall, we started to date. Now, it felt like I was finally turning a corner on my grieving, and I guess you could say, yeah, love blossomed. It seemed like his career was off to a great start as well. He got medals, he had respect, he was starting to get promoted, and we got married and had 2 kids, as is pretty common in the US military. Well, in the midst of all this domestic happiness, there was a problem, and it was only getting worse over time, and that was his alcoholism. Now, for a while, when people are young, it's not quite so bad, but it eventually starts to catch up with you. It starts to affect your career, your relationships, and your ability to parent. Over time, I thought it better if our children stayed with my sister. And I also got out of the house, and it was agreed that I would go overseas for a 3-year academic program. I would come back over the holidays, and then, after he retired from the military, I would be the breadwinner for the rest of our working lives. So it seemed like, even though we had this huge problem, we were still quite loyal to each other, and I would say, still loved each other. But I had to put my foot down and deliver an ultimatum. And when he realized I was congruent with my words, this is what happened. It finally dawned on him that we were done. And on Memorial Day, he was angry at me because I didn't salute him. This may seem kind of strange to you. It was strange to me. But this was quickly followed up by other threats. Threats to take the children and take them to another state to stay with his sister, who they had never met. Now, it's obvious in this text here, I had no idea what was going on. Alright, another threat, same night. He decided to try to use financial manipulation by bringing in his brother and giving him our account information. Now, it was strange to me that he would immediately turn to all these threats that had never happened before, but it quickly got worse. Now, the number at the top there is fake, but yeah. Again, he started to pressure me to put it in writing to give the children to his sister. Now, I'm overseas at this time, dealing with harassment and then this kind of coercion. Now, he also started to threaten, or at least imply he was suicidal. You can see in some of this language he's acting kind of lovey-dovey, but he's still trying to manipulate and coerce me into doing something that I just can't agree with. Here is proof that I sent off a text message to a friend to go check on him. This is very important because in the future, he would claim that I was very nonchalant and did not care if he killed himself. Now, he had never been suicidal before, and it's very important to note here that I have been. In fact, this is 2016, and I was going through very, very serious mental illness. This right here is a text I got back. You can see that he doesn't really seem suicidal. In fact, he seems kind of embarrassed. Well, you could fool me, considering that he threatened to give a shower to any cop that showed up. So, it only gets worse from here. Right here is a murder-suicide. This is something that I would bring up as grounds for never seeing him again. But this is something he would try to gaslight me over. That he didn't mean this, he was suicidal, da-da-da. At this point, I just stopped replying. But he just got uglier and uglier, basically goading me into suicide. Basically, well, and also saying that he was sober, which he probably was not. But saying he was sober was just him making sure that I knew he meant what he said. And basically calling me worthless. Now here's a funny thing. I made it very, very clear that I had no intention of hurting or killing myself. But look at the language here. Are you going to change accounts? Now this is just a short time after he threatened to use his brother to cut me off financially. But now it seems like, what, does he want me to threaten him with it? It doesn't make any sense, but I don't know if this was a thing on purpose or if he was just drunk or what. But I'm very clear in my responses that I agree with nothing that's going on and that I had no desire for him to kill himself. Yeah. This whole be all Southern you want, I have nothing to lose. I guess this was a pretty low time in his life, and far be it from me to make any kind of light of serious mental illness. But I don't think that's what this was. This was someone who lost control. It was all fine and dandy that I pretty much led an autonomous life. Obviously, I was overseas. As long as he still had his hooks in me. He wanted loyalty. So me actually being congruent with my words was more than he can bear. And I am very sympathetic to the fact that at this point in time, yes, he was dealing with some chronic pain. And that is why I put up with it, as long as I did, until eventually this got so out of hand and so outrageous, all the sympathy drained over time. And at the top there, what he's implying is that I wanted him to kill himself, and that when he told me that he was suicidal, I basically egged him on, which the previous texts show that that is not what happened. Look, narcissists can get really ugly when they realize they've lost you. It is so important to hold your ground when you make the decision to leave. Things don't really get better when you're dealing with a narcissist. And in the next video, you'll see the kind of ridiculous tactics that they will use. He might be a bit more ridiculous than some, but the narcissism is so evident. The kind of things that they will turn to get those hooks back in you, oh, it'll make your blood run cold. Or it'll just make you laugh. Kind of alternates between the two. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed part 1. Part 2 is a real cracker, so make sure you tune in. And I thank you for watching. There's going to be a lot more soon.